I want to thank Cindy for inviting me. It's an honor.
Yeah.
It really is an honor. And Medea was on the bus. I haven't seen her in years. We go way back. Well, let me just tell my story. You know, it's a story I've been telling for a long time. You know, I get a chance to speak around the world. And I certainly have, well, I'll let you know how I feel about 9/11. You know, I just don't want to talk about 9/11. But my son died September 11th. He was 26 years old, worked at Merrill Lynch, which is across the street from the North Tower. We went up that week and got him. We're one of the few people who had a full body to take home. What, you know, I never viewed the body. The coroner said, you know, he recommended that I don't do it because and I don't want to, it's important, I don't want to go into how he died, but it's a big part of my story. He died walking, he worked at Merrill Lynch across the street from the North Tower. He lived up in 66 between 1st and 2nd, took the subway down from Hunter College down there, gets off at Fulton Street, then heads across. Now, he had only been working there 3 weeks. Then he would go through the Trade Center, and he was probably cutting through the North Tower because Merrill Lynch was on the other side. Well, I didn't know this at the time. It took a long time to find out. But there was an explosion, and he was killed instantly. His injuries were in his chest and his face. Most of his skull was taken off except for the back of his skull. And he had post-mortem burns on him. Now, again, this has taken me a long time to find this out. I wish I'd found out immediately. But I spend a lot of time when I talk. I do not want to disrespect the people here. I don't want to disrespect any other family member. I can talk about Bobby. It's my job as a parent. See how I'm getting upset. It was a murder. It was an outright murder. Okay? So, that's all I want to talk about that. He was murdered. So what happened afterwards? Well, at first, of course, I believed what everyone else believed, that 19 hijackers, planes, everyone died because the buildings came down. Now, immediately, I felt it was a crime. So I wanted to do something. The first 6 months, you're just in grief. You're in absolute shock. I couldn't do anything. You know, thank God for friends. People kept coming over. So, it's, you know, you were kept active from friends, and then suddenly that dies out. I said, I have to do something. So I joined a group called 9/11 Families for Peaceful Tomorrows. They won a Nobel Prize. And with that, we became very active. They were all 9/11 family members that lost someone, and we didn't want war. And I said, that's exactly what I want to do. Because no matter how you look at it, it was a crime scene. Even if, you know, I don't believe anything about the official story, I'll say right now, I think the United States orchestrated this thing. But I don't think it, I know it. But again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. But anyway, the idea that this is silly. We're going to go to war. Medea, you know, I'm so honored to see Medea and Cindy that, you know, these people are so involved in this, but Medea's in this book. And so we became very active. I've traveled around the world. Bogota, they had a conference on violence. I met people from Chechnya, Indonesia, all around the world. And I used to talk about blowback. Because at this time when I was talking around the world, I really hadn't spent a lot of time on 9/11. I just didn't want wars. I wanted peace. And this is why I was with this group. And it was just so great to meet these people in Bogota that, you know, people from Afghanistan were there. People, you know, a black woman lost 9 family members in Africa, Afghanistan. So to meet these people, and I would tell them, and I got a chance to tell the world that these wars are insane, absolutely insane. It was still a crime. I went to Japan, walked from Hiroshima to Nagasaki to Hiroshima. We pushed a stone, 2,000-pound stone. And it was the most cathartic thing I ever did in my life. Walking with Buddhists, most wonderful human beings I've ever been with in my entire life. Walking with the Hibakusha, those who had survived Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And the one thing I learned, he said, we don't want to be victims. We just have to stop what's happening. I don't want to be a victim. All these people that died in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, throughout the world. This has been going on, as you said earlier, for years and years and years. It's all about war. Well, I went to the 9/11 Commission. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but I spent a lot of time, I went to every meeting. And the turning point of my life was when Condoleezza Rice spoke. And and it's all they did at the 9/11 Commission hearings, they filibustered. Everyone knows what a filibuster is. They would ask a question, and then she'd just bullshit you for 5 minutes. Each commissioner only had 5 minutes to speak. Ben Venice, he got so pissed off at her. I'm asking you one simple question. Did you know about Bin Laden, August 6th memo? And she said, well, you have to keep things in perspective. You got to understand. And then Ben Venice was done. Well, I was so angry after that. I was doing an interview with CBC up in Canada. And they came over and I said, this is all effing bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And suddenly all these cameras came around. They wanted to hear what I had to say. And I said, these people are lying. It's a sham. It's a joke. And from that point on, I said, well, I didn't drop out, but I do not do anything with Peaceful Tomorrows. And I said, I'm just going to do 9/11 stuff. And I have talked around the world. And the message, I did an international travel channel. They came to America and they wanted to talk about 9/11. They came with their 9/11 was an inside job, shirts on. And we went to Ground Zero. 120 million people, 70 countries. This went out to. They gave me a solid 5-6 minutes to say what I had to say. And they asked me, who did it? I said, I don't really care who did it. I'll give you names. Condoleezza Rice is right on top of the list. If I could hang people, I don't believe in capital punishment, but I would put her right there, Bush Cheney. But you could go on and on and on with a lot of names that were involved in this. But I can tell you for sure, my son, he died before the planes hit. Well, that automatically eliminates the Muslim world. Automatically eliminates the Muslim world. So I can tell you with 100% certainty, the Muslims had nothing to do with my son's death. So how do you like that? And, so that's what I do. The Muslims had nothing to do. And then, I could sit here for the next 2.5 hours. I could teach a 6-month course on 9/11, why the official story isn't true. But the thing is, the 9/11 Commission book came out. I don't know how many pages it is. There's absolutely nothing true in the thing. Yet people still believe the official story. The guy committed the crime, KSM, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, tortured 183 times. I don't believe he's even in Guantanamo. But yet people still believe, they still feel it's the official story. So my job, and I know, I don't care if anybody's held guilty. I have the opportunity to speak around the world. I'll speak to anyone. I'd rather make the message, you can't prove to me at all a Muslim had anything to do with my son's death. And I'm not speaking for family members, because there are a lot of family members that probably shoot me right now if I'm saying that. They certainly hate me for what I do. But I can prove for sure that Bobby died walking into the towers from an explosion.
Before they collapsed by pre-planted explosives.
And the way you say it, of course, if you read the 9/11 Commission report, they said fireballs were coming down, blew up everything. Well, if you understand the power of a fireball, it's nothing compared to a detonation. The injuries and people were cut in half, tongues blown out. I hate to be graphic like that, but my son was walking in and it was like someone hit him with a shotgun. And he died instantly. And he didn't have burns on him. So how do you figure? It wasn't a fireball. If you were hit by a fireball, you burn the smithereens. So, but people don't want to hear it. I tell friends this, they just look at me, get glassy-eyed, they want to walk away. It's like saying your father's a mass murderer, your father's a rapist. They just can't put their finger on it and say, my government was involved in this. They just can't do it. And that's why I'll tell people, you have to read history. You have to constantly study it. You really do have to look at history. Look at Iran-Contra, the Kennedy assassination. It goes back to World War I. These foreign policy is dictated by shadowy people. I'm not calling it shadow government, but shadowy people. The president has nothing to do with it.
Well, he puts his rubber stamp and he's the face.
Right, but it's just. So my whole thing in life is that a lot of people don't want to deal with 9/11. But the thing is, everything that happened in Iraq, everything that happened in every single country has to deal with 9/11. And I guarantee you, everyone in Congress, I guarantee you the president, everyone knows what happened on 9/11. It's so simple, it's so easy if you spend any time, unless you bury your head in the sand. The war on terror is a joke.
It's a fraud.
It's an absolute fraud, as you said.
It's a fraud.
And it has been. It's just like the war on drugs. You know, it just goes on and on and on. As Cindy said, we've only had 12 years where we haven't had a war. Well, this is, you know, what we were just talking about. The quote you said was from Lenin, but
John or Vladimir?
What was the quote?
Well, you're talking about imperialism and capitalism.
Capitalism mandates imperialism, and of course, imperialism mandates war and conflict. And it's been that way, and it will always be that way.